I'm John Travis in Novato, California on the 19th of August, 2020, talking to Lutz Hertel. I'm not even sure if I pronounced the accent in the right place. Hertel or Hertel?
It's okay. Hertel.
In Dusseldorf, Germany, where it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and here it's 8 in the morning. So we have known each other for many years, had a wonderful visit 3 years ago, but I want to dive into who you are and why, and what led you to becoming the stellar figure in wellness that you have established yourself in Germany. And let's begin with where you were born and early childhood experiences, siblings, what your parents did, and all that.
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you very much, Jack, that you invited me to talk to you and that we have a connection for so many years. We didn't see so often, but I feel a very deep connection to you and to your work. And so I start with my life. Yes, I was born in Germany in a small town nobody knows outside Germany. It's a small town in the southern part. And yes, well, my parents, they came from the eastern part of Germany. After Germany was divided into East and West, they escaped from the east side. That was a dangerous time that time, after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians were in the east, and the other allied were in the west. So they escaped and they started a new life in southern Germany. My father was an electrician, is that right, that word?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, expert for electricity. And later he specialized in refrigeration technique.
Mm.
He was a real expert in this job. He worked for a big company. I think it's an international enterprise called Unilever.
Oh yeah, heard of
Yes,
that.
yeah. Yes, and he was a World War II veteran, and he had bad injuries from war. He was disabled, not only physically, but also mentally. He never spoke about his experiences, about his injuries and what he experienced during the war. But I felt that he was very, very sad and unhappy and depressed about this part of his life that destroyed all his future plans. He was very young. He went to war with 17. And my mother, she was a merchant, but as long as I can remember, she never worked in this job. That was before my birth. She had the traditional role of a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed at home, cared for me. And later, in her later years, when I was a teenager, she worked as a caregiver in a nursing home.
Mm.
Yeah, she was always very communicative. She loved people, she loved to help. And I was happy that some years of her life she spent not only at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is...
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
No. Yes, I said very fast no, but the truth is yes, I had a half-sister from my mother's side, but I never met her.
Mm.
She not lived in our family. She left her mother early. I think when she was 16, she left, she had her own life and she died very early. And I didn't meet her. So yes, I had a half-sister, but in the family, I was the only child.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So how was your early life? Did you lived near the country, so did you spend much time outdoors? What sort of childhood activities did you have?
I was in love with nature from the beginning of my life. And until I was 16 or 17, my wish for my later vocation was always something in the forest. Yeah, to work in the forest, because I spent a lot of time in forests. My parents moved several times, and I always tried to find a way into nature. And I spent the most time of the day when I was not at school in nature. Yeah. That was very, very dominant in my early life. But I learned from experts that the industry, the forest industry, should not well develop within the next years. The experts said, forget about this idea to work in this job as a forest manager or something like this. No future. And I was also very, very, very related to music. You know that song, Music Was My First Love?
Don't think so.
Yes, but some who listen to us maybe know it. That's true for me. That was, I had a record player. My parents made a present to me when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And this was my best friend. I listened to music. I spent time in nature. That was very, very relevant to me. And yes, this love to music, this, I followed this path. I started to play the organ, but not the church organ, but the Hammond organ. Maybe you know that.
I do. I played the church organ and wished we had a Hammond organ, but occasionally I would find one to play with. But yeah, that's something we have in common.
Yes. So I was so fascinated to play an instrument. My parents were poor people. They couldn't afford to buy an instrument for me. I went to the lessons, but I never practiced at home because I had no organ. It was too expensive. And my teacher said after three or 4 months, you have talent and you should have an instrument at home to practice. You can make much faster, better progress if you practice. You have to tell your parents. I kept it a secret. I went to the school and I didn't tell my parents because I was sure that they will not allow. They knew they don't have the money to buy an instrument for me, and so they said, no, this makes no sense. Go to a music school and not have an instrument. But then I told them, they were very angry at the first, and then they talked to my teacher and he said, your son, he has talent and you should make an investment now, buy him an instrument. And they did, and so I improved very fast, and I had to change the school because my teacher said, I cannot teach you more, you have to find a better teacher than me. And so in 2 or 3 years I became quite good in playing the instrument, and I started teaching too. I was 16 years and I thought, what I can learn, maybe I can teach other people too. And so I started to earn money with my hobby, with my talent. I had a lot of students, adults and children, both. And that allowed me to buy better instruments, very professional instruments, and also to play on stage, to travel around with music. That was a great part of my life.
Wow.
But later, when I started to study, I didn't have the time to continue. and I lost it. I still have a keyboard at home, but not often that I play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't practice enough to be as good as I once was. But I play for relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
I still love the music.
Were you playing Bach, or what was your favorite kind of music to play?
I call it improvisations.
Uh-huh.
That is just what I feel I play. That's not something special, but it's not the classical music. Once I played Bach too, yes, of course, the Bach fugues.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good music and intelligent music and yeah, superb music.
Yeah.
But now I just play from my soul.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And in school, any other interests?
Yes, I was interested in all. Most of it, my interest was sports, like for many boys. I was good in sports, any kind. I played a lot of different sports, football and handball and volleyball and table tennis and basketball and a lot of more, always sports.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something I was interested. I love to move my body. And later, when I was in the last 3 years of my school life in high school, I had a very good teacher, and he taught us philosophy. That was very unusual at that time. It was at the beginning of the 80s, and I was in a course for politics and economy. And he said, why not have half a year about philosophy? Wow. So I was introduced to philosophy, and I read books as much as I could. He gave us one book to read, The Philosophy of Happiness. And I think this already was the first trigger to my later life and to the wellness way. Very good book about different approaches to happiness, also in history, even in the Bible. The Hiob story, maybe you've heard of Hiob or Hiob, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't. This is very
He
early.
was not a lucky guy. he had a lot of unhappiness, and he thought God is testing him if he still believes in God, although he has to suffer from such an unhappy life.
Well,
But there were many more authors and stories and philosophers I learned to know, Spinoza and Epicure. I think you know Epicure, you've heard of this philosopher. Yeah.
If it's true that our gifts come from our wounds, it's not surprising that the original, who was the author of the philosophy of happiness? Because that's before the whole discipline of authentic happiness, and that arose in the late 90s. So you were way ahead of the curve on that. Who wrote that?
He is a German, I think. His name is Ludwig Marcuse.
Uh-huh.
I think you would pronounce the last name Marcuse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ludwig Marcuse, a philosopher, and it's a kind of textbook, and you can easily understand the different approaches over time in history to come closer to the concept of happiness. It was fascinating for me. I was 16, 17 years old, and I thought, this is really something.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go on with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was the time when people told me, don't go into the forest business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a new idea
Mm-hmm.
what I can do after I finished school. I was also interested in legal issues, but that was not a living science, I thought maybe that will be very boring to study law, to become a lawyer. Medicine, I had too much respect for human life. I was afraid that maybe one day a person might die because of my mistakes as a physician. But it turned out that psychology might be a good choice because of my interest in philosophy. And that was my way after school. I studied psychology, but also I went on with philosophy and sociology, the influence of society onto our life and our health. Yes.
Did you do that at a university, or what was your?
Yes. I studied at two universities, and then I worked at a third university after I finished my master degree, but that went in a very different direction. I worked as a scientific associate at the University of Aachen. Aachen is in the area of Cologne. And that is very technical oriented university in Aachen. And so was the science in psychology. I worked in software ergonomics. I investigated the first version of the Mac computer, how this concept of personal computer applies to human factors. Today we are all used how computers work, but at that time, in the 80s, when there were only the MS-DOS computers and the screen was black, you only see a green cursor blinking.
I had a CPM K-Pro.
Yes.
1983.
And then the Mac came and all was different. Suddenly we had a graphic surface on the screen. And we had a mouse. There was no mouse before.
Right.
So yes, our department of psychology at the University of Aachen, we were interested in how good it is to humans. Yeah, that was software ergonomics.
We had Mac Draw and Mac Paint and
right. That was very exciting. That you can work with the computer and not have to program the computer before you do something. I was programming in BASIC. It was a very simple computer language. And now the Mac allowed to do a lot of things. And I kept with this. I still work with Macintosh. I only use Apple products, yes.
I got my Mac Plus in 1986 and did a 400-page book on it later that year. So, yeah, another interest we share in common. So, now you were teaching at the university?
No, I only stayed 1 or 2 years. I didn't like it. I didn't like to be controlled. I had a boss and he controlled me a lot. He always checked what time I come, what time I go, what I do. He called me several times to check if I'm really at work. And this, I found out about myself, this is something I don't like. I'm not a person who need this. And I had to leave the office at 5 in the afternoon. And I wanted to stay because I was interested in my work. And she said, no, 5 o'clock, finish, go home. I understood this is not the way I want to work. And so I looked for new perspectives. And I got very fast self-employed. I left the university to become an consultant. I also worked in Aachen at the university in the area of knowledge management. We developed computer systems with the use of artificial intelligence, expert systems. That was the beginning of expert systems. And I was involved in a project, and I developed a lot of knowledge about this. And I introduced this new knowledge to the public. I wrote articles for the newspapers about the power of knowledge management. That was quite new in the middle of the 80s. And people read this, and also business people who wanted to participate in this knowledge and asked me for service, for help. And so I thought, why not go on outside the university? I also learned something that made me really angry. I got a small salary that was about 1,000 German mark, maybe the same in US dollar. Every month they paid me 1,000, and they got a lot of money from companies. We developed projects for the bank industry, the banking industry. We developed expert systems for banks, and they paid more than 10,000 every month for my work.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, I found out about this. I looked on a desk in the secretary room, and I said, wow, this is for me, this is for my work, and you give me 1,000 and you take the 9,000? That's not fair.
Wow.
Yes.
So you went off on your own then and consulted?
Yes. Yeah. And look, I didn't think about this for many years, but of course now I see this is experience that was also important for my later life. Because when I worked as a consultant in health management, that was some years later, I didn't believe in personal skills of stress management. Of course, you can teach people how to manage better stress, how to relax, how to breathe, and how to organize your work, but that all doesn't help much if you live in a very toxic work environment. Yeah. And I found out myself about fairness and unfairness in job, and about how it is to be controlled, not to be able to make decisions on your own, not to have freedom in your work. And later I found that there is a lot of science about this, how bad this is for health, and that it shortens your life. You get a lot of disease if you work in these environments. And I use this knowledge in my work as a consultant.
So I can see the beginnings of your wellness interest
Yes.
creeping in here, from the computer nerd to a wellness consultant. And when was the first time you heard the word wellness or something similar? Is there a German translation for wellness, a different word?
We have no different word for this. We can use the word well-being. We have a word in German for well-being. This is Wohlbefinden. Yeah, you feel well-being, Wohlbefinden. But you know better than me that well-being is not the same as wellness. Wellness has a different meaning. And to answer your question, I first learned about the term wellness in 1989, when I read a magazine for leadership and motivation. And the author described the problems of American companies who want to motivate their workers to participate in fitness programs. And he described that the companies were very unhappy because the workers didn't want to participate in the fitness courses. And he said, maybe we have a solution for this problem now, and this is wellness. Maybe wellness is a concept that helps to motivate people to participate in fitness classes. And then he went on. But I read this article and I saw this word wellness. I never saw the word before. I never heard before. That was the first time in this article. And something deep inside told me, you have to find out about this. This is something important. You know, this is sometimes in life, you see something and you cannot really explain, but you know there is a connection to you, and you go on. That was when I first saw an organ. I saw the instrument and I know at once, immediately, I want to play this. And I will find a way. And that was the second time in my life that I saw this word. I had not really an idea what it is about, but I know I have to follow this way. So I called the author. I found out his telephone number. I called him and he said, I'm sorry, I cannot tell you much about this. I read this in another magazine. I just copied. But he said, I checked the article I read and maybe I find some more information. And he said, well, I think in Germany or in Europe, you will not find anything about this. You have to search in the United States. And I know that there is a wellness center in New York City. It's located in the World Trade Center. I said, okay, and booked a flight ticket to New York City. What else I could have done? There was no internet. I had no chance to research another way. I had to make the trip. And that's what I did. That was, I went on the 24th of December. That was Christmas Eve. I went to New York City. That was my first trip to a foreign country. And the first time that I had to use the English language out of school. Since my school time, I never talked in English. And so that was very exciting. That was a big adventure to me. And I found my way to the World Trade Center. I rented a room in the YMCA. I had not much money, and that was still expensive to spend a night in the YMCA in New York City, Manhattan. But it was the cheapest. And yes.
I used to spend the night at the YMCA when I was training with bioenergetics, and tiny little room, somewhere around 40th Street. I don't remember exactly where. It might have been the same place.
Maybe. Well, it was not really clean place, but I didn't mind. I had a mission. I wanted to find out about wellness, and so I had to go. And the next day, I went with a taxi to the World Trade Center, and I checked out, and I really found that fitness club. It was a fitness club. Yeah, what they said is a wellness center. It was a fitness club. So I went up with the elevator very fast to the 23rd floor, I think. Yes. And yes, I was really overwhelmed because concerning fitness, we had fitness in Germany too, but that was more the Arnold Schwarzenegger style of fitness, bodybuilding. And in that fitness club in the World Trade Center, I saw a very different kind of fitness. That was very nice interior and all very clean, and they had areas for relaxation. They had cardio area, a lot of cardio. I had never seen like this before. And they had stretching areas with mats on the floor. And they had a pool, a big indoor pool. Wow, 23rd floor, and glass windows. And you had a wonderful view to the Hudson River. And around the pool was a gallery, one level above, and on the gallery was an indoor running track. You could run around the pool, one floor higher, and look down. That was all very new to me, and I was really impressed. And very good service, very friendly people. The manager gave me a tour. I asked a lot of questions, and I took a lot of photos with an ancient camera, not like the modern digital cameras. I had film with 32 pictures. Yes, and so that was my first encounter with wellness in the United States. And I thought wellness is very close connected to fitness. It's another way of doing fitness training. And so I came back to Germany and I wrote a report about my experience, and I offered it to a magazine, a fitness magazine. And they said, yes, we are very interested and we will publish it. Send us your photos and send us your text. And then that was published very soon. And so that way I became the wellness expert. I was not an expert at all, but there was nobody else in Germany who had at least a little bit knowledge of what it might be. And some months later, I found out a lot more because I went to the Stevens Point conference in Wisconsin. Between that, there was a big fitness exhibition in Germany. It's the biggest in the world. About 150,000 people come every year to Cologne. It's the fitness community, not only from Germany, but from all over the world. It's called FIBO, Fitness and Bodybuilding. It's still the same name today. And they read the article I wrote, the managers of the FIBO, and they called me and said, would you like to give a lecture, a speech about wellness and how to integrate the wellness concept into the fitness industry? I said, yes, of course. I didn't have much knowledge, but I want to go on. And I wanted to find out what happened next, whom I meet next. So I went to the exhibition, I had that speech, and the people, they were very cheerful, the people I talked to. They were no fitness expert. They were people with very different backgrounds. And they said, wow, we have to start something with wellness in Germany. And you have to establish an association. That would be the best way that you get attention. Why not start a German wellness association? There is one in the US. One of the people who discussed with me after my speech told me. In the United States, they have a national wellness conference. I said, if this is the case, I have to go. I have to find out more. So that was the next step. Go to Wisconsin and look what that is. And so I met the directors of the National Wellness Institute. And I met you, of course. That was the first time in 1990. 1990 that I met you. You were one of the speakers. I met Don Ardell. Of course, I met the people from the National Wellness Institute, Bill Hetler, Dennis Elsenrath, Fred Liefgren. I met them personally. I told them about my enthusiasm about wellness and that I want to represent the wellness concept in Germany and build up an organization. And of course, want to cooperate and learn as much I can learn. That was really very, very important experience. I think this conference, not only these very important persons from the Wellness Hall of Fame, but also the participant and the whole atmosphere at this conference that had a major influence on me. And that was the major trigger that gave me the inspiration and the energy to start and to go on until today. That is 30 years ago. And I still have these emotions and the experiences and the encounters in my memory that still give me power. Yes.
Yeah, I think 1990 was the year that a whole bunch of us from our network came, and we had a whole floor, one of the dorm rooms, and it was a wild and crazy time.
Yes.
So
and there were talent shows on stage.
yeah,
Of course, it was the first time that I had an idea of the American lifestyle and of the American way how people interact and communicate, the American culture. It's not all. America is very, there are many aspects of American culture, but this certain kind of American culture, I enjoyed very much.
yeah, it
I
was
felt very good. Yeah, yeah.
Stevens Point was like summer camp for adults.
Yes, yes, like this, right. We were all a little bit like kids, and there were a lot of hugs.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is also a part of your culture, and that you ask people you don't know, may I give you a hug? I didn't know that from Germany. That was very new to me. And you exchange T-shirts, and everyone was very kind. Yeah. And today, of course, I know that not all of this it goes very deep. That is also a little bit part of to be polite to each other, the way how you learn to be in your culture, be friendly, smile, say hello.
Yeah.
Everyone I met in Stevens Point when I was jogging in the morning said hello to me. I didn't know that from Germany. That was very new. And that many people were active in the morning and were jogging. I never saw that in Germany before.
There's a small town Midwestern friendliness. If you live in a city, it gets too overwhelming to say hi to everybody. And growing up in a small Midwestern town, it was normal for me, but I found out the city kids were really, this is weird.
I saw the movie Crocodile Dundee in New York.
Oh.
And that was a little bit that experience. He came from the wilderness, and I think his behavior was more like in the rural areas of the US. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my experience in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. Yeah.
So you went back to Germany, you started the Wellness Association, and how did that go?
That was not so easy because nobody knew the word at that time. It was really the beginning, the early beginning. I had to write a statute for the organization, a non-profit organization, and our administration, they read it and they said, we don't trust you. This sounds like Scientology church, what you want to do. And we don't agree with that.
Who were the authorities that you were proposing this to?
It's a court. We have to go to the local court.
Oh, I see. For like in corporation of a nonprofit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't found a corporation. I found a nonprofit organization, or at least that was my plan. Mm-hmm. And right from the beginning, I had problems because they didn't understand the term wellness. I said the name of the organization is Deutscher Wellnessverband, German Wellness Association. And they said, we understand Deutscher and Verband, but we don't understand wellness. What is that? And I said, well, we want to have happy, healthy people in Germany. And we want to support that. And they said, you are not Scientology church? Are you sure? Yes, I had to convince them and explain them that I cannot do in telephone calls. I had to visit them in their office. And I gave a little talk or a speech to them. I introduced them to the concept of wellness, and they agreed. They agreed. They said, "Okay, go. We give you the go."
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, then the next steps were promotion, public relations work, media work, inform the public about what is wellness, make the word popular in Germany. That took some years. But then there grew a big interest, really big interest in wellness. The fitness industry, we didn't talk about that now, but I had this speech at the fitness exhibition in Cologne, and that was also published in fitness magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And they titled the articles "Wellness, the Soft Fitness."
Oh.
They call it the soft fitness or the gentle fitness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because no, not you go, you reach your goals and you don't have to sweat much. You can do it the wellness way. That was not wrong, of course, but that was not all of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But for this business or for this industry, it was quite a good step. It brought the whole fitness industry to another level. The influence of the wellness concept led to more cardio in fitness clubs, led to yoga in fitness clubs,
Mm-hmm.
to relaxation, to stretching, to breathing classes, a lot. That was also the influence of the wellness concept. I don't know about the development in the United States, but in Germany, for sure, the wellness concept, the reception of the wellness concept had a big impact on the development of the fitness industry. Yeah. But there was another sector that also got interest a lot very fast, and that was the whole consumer products industry. Anything you can consume, anything you can buy in a supermarket or in a department store, and that was labeled wellness. It's hard to imagine, but there was hardly any product that could not be a wellness product, and it was labeled with wellness.
Really?
Yes, yes. That was used for marketing purposes, because this public relation work that I started, this media work, built up a wellness idea, a wellness dream, maybe, that people had the idea that made me feel very good. Yes, if I can go the wellness way, that will make me feel very good. And the marketing expert, they thought, yes, that's the term we need. That's the term we need to label our products, because what we sell is happiness, is feeling good. And if you buy our product, you will reach your goal. This is the mantra in all these products, in all these commercial products. All products are said to make you happy or feel well. And so they had their new magic word, wellness, and we had wellness socks. We still have wellness socks in Germany, of course. Today I read the number one producer of wellness shoes in Germany is a certain company. You don't know, it's a German company, but I read this and I thought, well, not much changed in the last 25 years. We have cars like Mercedes cars, the very expensive Mercedes cars with wellness features.
Really?
Yes, yes, yes.
And you single-handedly launched the word to that level of success. Wow.
This is a doubtful kind of success. On the one hand, yes, I can, if I look back and I think that was me, I think, wow, good job. On the other hand, we know that this is not the right understanding, and this make me suffer a lot. And I'm also a little bit desperate because I don't know how to change this. It's so big, it's so strong. I cannot control this development. I never could. It
Yeah.
became a development in itself, and other people took over. Yeah.
When we were there 3 years ago and met up with you at the end of my tour, the two women that sponsored me were both struggling with the spa industry that had co-opted the word, and wellness meant self-indulgence and going to spas. And they'd asked me to try to expand the concept of it. And
Yes.
then we met up at Mark's house, and you explained to me then how that phenomenon, how did the spa industry capture the word, and
Yes.
you were dealing with the same issue.
Yeah. This term spa was not known in Germany before 2000, before the year of 2000. And I knew this term, of course, because I had some contacts to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that I knew this term. The first time I heard this was when I stayed in San Francisco with Dean Ornish, and he had his retreats for heart patients in a hotel. I think it was on the other side of the bay, close to San Francisco, and this hotel had a spa area.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time that I heard about this term.
Was
And
that
then I checked.
Where his office is, over the Golden Gate Bridge?
It was not. It was not the Golden Gate Bridge. There's another bridge.
Oh, the Bay Bridge. It must have been in Oakland then, East Bay.
I think, yes. Then it was in Oakland. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, what is that? What is a spa area? And I saw a spa area. These are treatment rooms, and a pool, and a gym. Okay, that's the spa area. And later in Germany, some years later, the term appeared, and it was mixed with wellness. Mm-hmm. It's like a synonym. People use it like a synonym. Mm. The most of what you see in what is called wellness today is spa. It's not wellness, but the people don't distinguish between the two terms. They mix it. Yeah.
And yet Germany has a long tradition of baths and the retreats to the mountains, the forerunners of spas, long before anything like that occurred in the States. Did they glom onto the term too, or what's the interface there?
It came from Belgium, from a city, from a small town in the mountains, Spa. Mm-hmm. They had healthy water, a spa town where people went mm-hmm. for health issues. And then this went to this idea to use water in healing and to visit places that have the healing water. This idea went to Great Britain, and from Great Britain it went to the United States, and from the United States it returned back to Europe. Yeah.
So there's actually a town called Spa that it originated?
Yes, in Belgium.
In Belgium. I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah. The most people in the world know the towns, the Spa town, because of very famous car racings that take place in Spa.
Huh.
Grand Prix car races.
Really?
And Formula One. Very fast racing cars.
Yeah, I know about them, but I didn't know that's where they came from.
Yes, yes. And then the second is the water. The water is bottled, and you can buy the water all over Europe.
Ah.
The water, the brand of the water is Spa. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, that's the background. But for me, that all was not a good development.
Yeah.
And this is for the last years, I think, yes, since the beginning of 2000, the new century, I try to explain the difference between spa and wellness. I do a lot.
Mhm.
When I'm invited to conferences, when I talk on stage, when I write articles, I often have to explain spa and wellness is not the same. And the people are very interested. I tell them, if you work in the spa industry, you should know the difference between spa and wellness. Or if you say you are a wellness worker in a spa, what is the meaning?
Mhm.
You know, here they give wellness massage. Wellness massage is a real big business. And it's called wellness massage, yes, but there is no treatment for wellness. You know that. I
Mhm.
learned that from you. Wellness cannot be done for you. And
A different paradigm than the fixing paradigm. Yeah.
yes, right. So this, and the people, if you explain to the people, to the professionals in this industry, they understand. But nobody told them before.
Mhm.
Yeah, they happened a lot. And I mentioned Dean Ornish. That was really, really important for my life and wellness, that I met the work of Dean Ornish. It was Mark Schmidt-Neuhaus. You interviewed him already. I met Mark in Munich. He was the medical director of a very interesting project, the Health Park Munich. And I met him there. He was one of the very few persons in the beginning of the 90s who had been associated to the wellness concept. He spent some time in the United States, and he wrote an article about the wellness movement. I read that article and I wanted to meet him. And since we met in Munich, we became friends until today. We are very good, close friends.
Mhm.
And later, 3-4 years later, he was on a trip in the United States. He was at Stanford, and he called me and said, I found something that is very, very much interesting to you. You have to find out more about this. It's called the Ornish Program. It's about heart patients and lifestyle changes. And we have to find out more about this. And I followed his advice and researched. And yes, that sounded very, very promising, this work. And then there was good fortune, as Don Ardell called it. I had really good fortune because his research director, a psychologist, he wanted to come to Germany and to stay in Germany for a replication study of the lifestyle heart trial. And he came to Düsseldorf. He contacted me and asked me to help him to find an apartment. So I was not involved in the content at that time, but it happened that I met one of the very important persons of this work, Larry Sherwitz, the psychologist who was the research director at Dean Ornish Institute. And when we met, we had a lot of sympathy for each other, and we became friends. And as he understood me, my way, my personality, he said, I want you to be part in the German research project. I want you to work with the heart patients as a psychologist. I answered, I have no training in psychotherapy or group psychotherapy. I never learned this. And he said, that's not necessary. It's better you have no training in psychotherapy if you want to do this work. So I was involved. As a group leader in the research with the heart patients in Germany. We worked in a rehabilitation clinic, And I also was responsible for the whole intervention team. I managed the intervention team with yoga teachers, with nutrition counselors, with medical doctors, with psychologists, with sports therapists. A lot of people were involved, and someone had to manage the team, and that was me. And I decided, if I have to manage all the people, I have to take part in the whole program. I have to see what they do when they work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent every day of the project 3 months, from early in the morning to late in the evening, with the heart patients and with all the professionals. And I really understood the whole program, not only my part as a psychologist and sitting in a group with heart patients and talking about their disease and their emotions, but all the rest too. And what I decided when I started in this project, I thought, if I have to teach patients to live a healthier lifestyle, I have to live the same and not only teach them. So I took part in all. I learned how to live with the new diet, with the Dean Ornish diet. I was vegetarian since I was 18, 19 years old. That was not so difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some very special aspects of how to eat heart healthy. And I learned this, and I do this until today. I'm not a heart patient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sick, but I understood that this is a very good concept. And I learned yoga, and I exercised every day. You know, I told already, I love to exercise. That was no problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about the psychology of heart disease and the psychology of heart patients. And then after the research was finished, the patients wanted to go on. There were about 40 or 50 patients who were involved in the experimental group, and they said, who care for us now? Nobody. The university had no more interest, and I said, I want to go on with you. I think this is very, very good work. This is good for you and good for me. We can go on. And so I found an agreement with the University of Düsseldorf, and they said, okay, we give you the patients and you can go on with them. And I received some funds from the German health insurance. We call them sickness funds. It's part of the social security system. And they said, we pay for your costs. And so I went on. The next 2 years they paid. And after that, they said, we stop this now. But I continued. I continued for 20 years.
Wow.
Yes.
How many of the original 40 or so did you?
Pardon? Can you repeat?
How many of the original? You said there were about 40 people. How many continued, and for how long?
I had maybe 5 or 6 persons who stayed with me for the whole time. I met them in 1993. And when I decided to stop my work in this area, they still came to the group meetings every week. Yeah. But of course, I had a lot of new patients over the years. Some stayed for 1 year, some stayed for more years. Yes, we had new patients, and it's not necessary to stay so long. If you stay 1 year, you know how to do, and you already change a lot. Also, your thinking, your mental attitude, your emotions. 1 year is okay. But I learned that the people love the group. They love this kind of interaction, this kind of talking, and this kind of trust. They said, I don't have this in my life.
Yeah.
I not even have this with my spouse. You know things about me my spouse don't know. Because I trust you. No? You don't judge me, and you have the same problems as I have. You can read all this in the Dean Ornish book about reversing heart disease. And they said, this is so important. And some people, they drive a long way to the group meetings. They didn't come from the Düsseldorf area. they had to go a long way, and they had to stay overnight in a hotel for one evening. And they came regularly for many years. Yes, and they survived their disease. Of course, some patients died because some got very old with their disease, but they didn't die of heart disease.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that aspect of your work.
Yes, yes, and that was, we had a new term in the new century, because there was a group of people who want to profit from the wellness market. And they said, we have a better version of wellness that is called medical wellness. I didn't understand what they mean. What is medical wellness? You know, what Don Ardell said? He said, this is an alternative, wellness is an alternative to doctors and drugs and disease. How can wellness be medical? I asked myself. And I explained that too. I had talks, I wrote articles about this. I could not accept. But then I said, because that term established in Germany, and the people who promoted medical wellness, they said, this is about health. And I replied, and wellness is not about health? About what is wellness if not about health? And they said, yes, wellness, that is more pampering and nurturing and relaxation and massage. This is nothing for health. In a certain way, they were right, because I just told about the mix of spa and wellness in Germany. Yes, but the original, the true concept of wellness is not the spa concept. And I defended our concept, your concept, Don's concept, Dan's concept. Yeah, I said that medical wellness make no sense for me. But if you use this word, then for whom? For whom? What kind of wellness is this? What you do? And they said, yes, it was a medical doctor. A medical doctor is always a supervisor. And I answered, you don't need a medical doctor if you are not sick, if you're not ill, if you have no disease. For what? For walking? You need a doctor walk beside you who take care that you not have a heart attack? Come on. Yeah. And there were no answers.
Yeah.
I think I was a pain in the neck for them, and they had to accept. They cannot delete me, but I always fought against them. And well, why I tell this? Because of course, the Dean Ornish concept, treating heart patients with lifestyle medicine, could be a kind of medical wellness. If someone has a medical condition, has a severe chronic disease, how can this person participate in the wellness concept? This is in your continuum, the illness wellness continuum. It is the part of the continuum where you are on the left side of the neutral point, where you have bad health conditions, and you can go into the right direction to complete well-being and high-level wellness. And heart patient, someone with chronic heart disease, can go from nearly dead to fully alive. Yeah, and it's not a bad idea to have medical checks on that way, and to find out about the improvements in your blood. You can also make, you can have angiograms, for example, to see the state of your blood vessels in your heart. But that's all. You not need much more of medical service to change your lifestyle. Yeah.
We had a similar struggle here in the 80s. I almost stopped using the word wellness because it got co-opted by the medical people. And if I had
But what did they do? What did the medical people do with this term?
Well, it was more the alternative medical people, like wellness colonics, and a lot of chiropractors started using it, but they were still talking about treatment. It was different than pharmacological treatment. So in the way, it was certainly an improvement, but it certainly wasn't Halbert Dunn's definitions of wellness. So yeah, we've had a similar but a different struggle with the popularity of the term and the watering down of it. So, and amidst all of this professional work, what kind of personal life did you manage to have? All work and no play, and any relationships, or what's?
Yes, yes, of course. So my life is dedicated to wellness promotion. That is really more than a job. I can say this is what I was inspired in Stevens Point, and I live this all day long. I live the wellness way myself, as the way I interpret the concept, but I think I'm very close to you and also to Don Ardell. It's a mix. I brought together your ideas and Don's ideas. You are not the same in some points, but I take the good from each of you, and I combine it in my own life. But yes, what I do, I have my office. I'm sitting here in my office now. I also have an office at the German Wellness Association. This is another office also in Düsseldorf, but I prefer to stay in my office, in my home office. I have all I need. I have all my knowledge here, my computer, my hardware, my software. And well, I still spend every day 2 hours with fitness training. I take a lot of time for cooking. This is also one reason why I prefer to stay at home. I love to cook for myself because I know what I want to eat. I prefer really good food, and my food plan is based on how do you call this? Whole food, plant-based? Is that the right term? Yeah. And I would add low fat. And it's very hard to get this kind of food if you eat somewhere else. So I prefer to cook for myself. I have 2 to 3 hours every noon for lunch that include cooking and eating and cleaning the kitchen, and then go back to work. In the evening, I have my fitness hours. And now, in this time, the coronavirus, I changed my schedule, because in the evening hours, it's quite full in a fitness club, because that's the time when the people come back from work. It's very crowded. And I don't like the crowded places now, because the virus is still with us. It's not gone. So I protect myself. I go to the fitness club in the morning, 11 to 1, before I work. After I cook, then I go to my office and do office work. And of course, I have a lot of projects. I not always stay here in my room. I have to travel. And I have a relationship with a wonderful, lovely lady who lives in Hamburg. That is not so close to Düsseldorf, but not too far. It's about 3 hours by train or by car. I prefer to take the train. I still have a car, but I not use it anymore, because I'm very concerned about our environment and the climate change. And for me, this is also a major part of the wellness concept. Without our planet, there are no jobs and no well people. We need this planet, and we have to do anything we can do in our own responsibility to save the planet. And that also means eat vegetarian and not use the car that need the gas. I don't have an electric car because the electricity has to be produced too. That not really solve the problem. We solve the problem if we bicycle or if we walk. And this relation to my partner in Hamburg, that is not so easy, that we live in the distance. We love each other. We want to be close. She come to Düsseldorf, I go to Hamburg, and that is not, we do this already 4 years. And we want to stop this. We not want to stop our relationship, but we want to stop this constellation, living in 2 cities, and next year there will be a change. She will come to Düsseldorf and live with me here in Düsseldorf, or I will go to Hamburg and stay with her in Hamburg.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You don't know which yet.
I would like to stay in Düsseldorf because I have a very good place here.
Yeah.
And it's a good town. It's a good place to live and to work. Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we already have this climate change, and it's hot in Hamburg too, but it's hotter in Düsseldorf.
Mm-hmm.
And the climate is better in Hamburg, but they have more than 30 degrees now. That is record. That is a high score for this area in Germany. Normally the north is colder than the south. And now the north has the same high temperatures as the south. So maybe in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there will be no difference between Hamburg and Düsseldorf.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere too hot. Yeah.
So what parting words do you have for viewers down through the years that we hope may see this after we're gone? And where do you see the future going in your work and with wellness in general?
This is the most difficult question you asked me.
Saved it till last.
I used to say I'm not in the how do you call it, forecasting business. This is I answer to forecasts mostly negative. I say, how can you know? Mm-hmm. How can you know? There are so many surprises.
Well, you can.
Some people said there will. Pardon?
You can make up anything you want.
Of course, I wish that there will be a change of understanding concerning the word and the concept of wellness. I wish I have enough power to go on and to fulfill the whole mission of telling people what it's all about. I hope that there is better understanding in other sectors than the tourism industry. You know, this concept of wellness in Germany never made it to the companies, to worksite health promotion, and it could be very useful to think the wellness way at the workplace. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course, I would like to have many more members in the German Wellness Association. I want to develop the association with more services, better services, more support. But one thing I don't want is to be a service for the spa business. Yeah, and this is a big challenge. I'm not really happy about this, and I not really have the key. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking about, and I have to be a little bit like a diplomat, mm-hmm. like a politician. Yeah. I have to accept their attitudes and their understanding, and I have to take them at my hands and lead them the way, give them inspiration. Mm-hmm. But you know, all the inspiration has no value if it's not associated with business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, had quite a journey here with your life, and I feel got to know you a lot better, and I want to thank you for all your contributions, past, present, and future, and look forward to keeping in touch and finding out where things go. So,
I want to keep in touch with you, Jack, and you know how much I appreciate your work and your being. I read all your books, of course. I was so glad that I could meet you personally in the United States, but also in Germany.
yeah,
And if I have a wish for the future, my wish is to meet you again. Yeah,
uh-huh.
not only on screen.
Well, come to California or Australia. So,
I love the Bay Area a lot. Yeah,
well, I'm going to end the recording now, and thank you so much for your participation.
I thank you too.